Welcome back to PerpDex Daily. I'm Aaron, and today we're going to be covering the Hyperliquid and PerpDex news for today. We got a big story coming up with Arthur Hayes going on a podcast and saying that in the short to medium term, he does not think Hyperliquid is going to be a good trade, or at least he said something around those lines. And a couple other great updates for the Hyperliquid ecosystem related to USDC and buybacks, and a lot more news with oil. Let's hop straight into it. As you can see today, Hyperliquid is trading around 68 bucks, looking pretty strong. I could definitely see the price of Hyperliquid in the short term pulling down and then, recovering at some point, really due to the fact that with the stock market raging and these IPOs raging, this has caused a lot of hype for Hyperliquid. And I think once the stock market has a cool off, Hyperliquid may have a cool off as well. Once again, nobody knows where things are actually going in the short to medium term. I hope things go up, but I do believe at any point during this bear market, once again, not financial advice, but Bitcoin's already made the move down from 125 to 64. So even if it goes down to 40K Bitcoin, I do believe that, most of the downside move has already been made. So I think any really solid altcoin project in crypto, especially Hyperliquid and Lighter, are going to be great buys during this bear market. But anyways, let's get straight into it. Things are going to be pretty interesting in today's news. Before we get to it, let's take a look at the TWAP hype buy pressure as we do every single day. In the next 24 hours, only about 500K. Pretty low amounts from what we've seen in the past couple of weeks, but this is, once again, the Hyperliquid price recently made a bunch of moves up, which requires a ton of volume. So not too shocked to see this. Top traded pairs today, we can see SPCX. This is SpaceX. SpaceX is still top in the leaderboard, kind of getting dumped now. Let's take a look at the price of SpaceX. It's starting to cool off now, down 10%. Wow. Absolutely insane. That's a big drop off. Now, second is, oil. Of course, with the news that the U.S. issues a 60-day general licensing authorizing the sale, production, delivery of Iranian oil. And I also want to say this before we move on. I'm a long-term Hyperliquid and Lighter bull. I don't trade Hyperliquid or Lighter. I'm a long-term bull. So let me make that clear. Even if Hyperliquid goes up or down in the short term, it really doesn't matter to me because I'm a long-term believer. So I want to make that clear, once again. But anyways, the U.S. issued a 60-day general licensing authorizing the sale, production, and delivery of Iranian oil. It looks like the war is, I don't want to say it's over because Trump on Truth Social, and I probably should have had this, lined up on my tabs here for this video, but Trump on Truth Social yesterday said that he threatened Iran because I think they bombed I think maybe they had been bombing Israel again. I don't know exactly what he said, but Trump yesterday threatened Iran, basically saying he has no problem restarting the war. So, yes, although they did sign the agreement and the U.S. has issued, this license, I do think for the most part things should be wrapping up. But once again, as always under the Trump administration, you always have to, expect, and it's always in the cards that something wild could happen. I could totally see it happening where everything just gets thrown to the side and the war gets restarted because of God knows why. But anyways, let's move on to our, next thing. Hyperliquid in the last day has done over $1 million in protocol fees. Really, really good stuff. Super, super, super cool. You can see, take a look at this, the Hype TWAP once again. Active traders, almost 60,000 active traders in the last 24 hours. And the Hype token is marching closer to that 250,000 holders, which will be a massive milestone. But now I want to have you guys take a look at this clip from Arthur Hayes, and I'm going to give you my thoughts kind of at the end, and we can just watch it together.
I'm like, okay, I think the summer is going to be sort of a topping period for a lot of the markets. I've done really well on these calls. Let me just take the W and go chill. And, if I need a buyback in other things, and let me find some asymmetry in other places, right? Like I got into Hype in the high 20s, low 30s. It's now whatever they got out at like
70
in the
something,
mid 70s, right? That's a decent trade, right? I think to go from the 60 to the 150, my original call, not that it's going to be impossible. I think it will happen at some point, but it's going to be a harder slog than the first part of this run. And so, okay, as an investor, at least in how I view things, is I want to find those asymmetric trades where I can deploy a little amount of capital and get a big return. And then I could put the rest in sort of low income yielding, bond-like structures or Bitcoin.
So how are you positioned right now? Are you in cash looking at opportunities, trying to find the opportunities? How are you positioned?
So obviously very long Bitcoin as always. I'm
Okay.
perennially long Bitcoin. Got a lot
When
of
you
cash
sell these
sitting there.
tokens like Sell Hype and Near and Zcash, which I would imagine are shorter term positions than Bitcoin otherwise would be, do you sell into Bitcoin?
Depends. So
Okay.
I haven't this time. I'm just sitting in a lot of T-bills, just earning some yields.
All right, so Arthur,
All these things were weighing in.
right there, he kind of says right there, hey, I'm sitting in cash, T-bills, whatever. But I want to give my honest thoughts on this, okay? So I'm going to call it how it is. And Arthur Hayes, the thing he has, which we don't have, is, and he 100% deserves it at the end of the day. And this is how the market works. A lot of people, there's some people who love Arthur Hayes. There's a lot of people who hate Arthur Hayes. If you guys don't know who he is, he's the former CEO and founder of BitMEX, which at one point I'm pretty sure was the largest exchange in crypto. So this guy is like a multi-billionaire, okay? He's very, very, very rich. And not only is he a multi-billionaire, but he's very influential on X now. He's basically, at least from what I see, he has this fund that he runs now, and he's basically an influencer on Twitter now at this point. He's one of the biggest. And this guy knows he can move markets. He can move large cap crypto coins. And we've seen this happen with Near Protocol, Zcash, and he's probably even helped out the hype chart, to be honest. So one thing you got to understand with this guy is he can play a different game than we can. He can literally just, all right, there's a coin that has, let's just say, a $200 million market cap, $300 million market cap. Even what they did with Zcash, I think Zcash was sitting around like $80 million market cap. He can take that, throw 7 figures in, text all his buddies, they all start tweeting about it, and then this thing does a 10x. And I don't blame him for doing it because, once again, he worked hard and he got to that position to be able to do that, which is something not many people can do. So he's able to play this game where he's easily able to find these trades that work out really well because he's the one creating the narrative for the trade and pushing it. And then, obviously, as he says, he's rotating the T-bills and Bitcoin, which is, smart overall. I think... personally what I'm doing is, and you shouldn't listen to anyone on the internet. Don't even listen to me, to be honest. You should be listening to nobody. You should do your own proper research and then come to your own conclusions. I think Arthur can be a good guy to, at least from my experience, to buy in early. If you know he's going to call something and he's kind of dropped some hints on some podcasts, it can be good to buy into his bags because he will move the market. But once again, we've seen it with this guy. If you've been following him, he'll pump it and then he'll dump it. And, this is the way crypto works. And crypto's a very PvP game. It's, everyone's trying to cut each other up. But, yeah, I just want to put that out there. Once again, you shouldn't be listening to him or me. Just do your proper due diligence. And everyone's in a different position. This guy's a multi-billionaire, so it really doesn't fucking matter what he does. He's pretty much rich forever. Anyways, to Lighter. Lighter's done over $1.3 billion of volume in the past 24 hours. And let me check on the whale tracker. Pretty interesting. So right now there's 24 whales that are short right now on Lighter and 26 giga whales that are short right now. I think Lighter's been doing some really cool things lately, starting to pick up the pace. The price of Lighter is sitting around, let's just see, $1.160. It started to break out of this. It was kind of falling, looked like it was going to fall out of structure right here, but starting to bounce back up. I'm still not convinced on this Bitcoin rally either. I think it's, I think we're heading down to 40K, but we'll see what happens. Who knows? And honestly, the biggest story for today, which I'm not going to put in the title because it's very niche and pretty boring, but if you are a Hyperliquid holder or somebody in the perp decks, you'll probably appreciate it. So recently something got passed in the Hyperliquid ecosystem called AQA V2. And I'm just going to read it out for you guys. Hyperliquid negotiated a deal to receive up to 90% of the reserve yield generated by USDC sitting on its platform, with that revenue flowing directly into buybacks of its native HYPE token. All right, so the big part of this is into buybacks of its native HYPE token. So if you're a holder of HYPE, this is bullish. Recently, Coinbase and Hyperliquid did a deal making USDC the prominent stablecoin on the Hyperliquid platform. And Hyperliquid's total stablecoins on the platform have absolutely taken off. And with that, with all those stablecoins on the network, this leads to easy profits for the Hyperliquid platform. And as it says here, 90% of the reserve yield is going to HYPE buybacks. All right. So anyways, the arrangement called a line quote asset V2 effectively redirects stablecoin income that would normally stay in Circles in Coinbase's pockets When USDC exists, it's backed by reserves, mostly short-term US Treasuries and cash equivalents to generate yield. Historically, Circle and Coinbase kept their yield as their primary revenue stream. Okay? And I guess I'm going to go over the rest of this real quick. So this is how it works. USDC on Hyperliquid is split between two accounts, a smaller Circle managed account for technical functions and a larger Coinbase managed treasury account. The Coinbase portion earns reserve yield, which is shared with Hyperliquid after issuer costs and paid to the assistance fund every 30 days. The assistant fund then buys Hype on the open market, creating a non-trading revenue stream that needs no extra fees or trading volume targets. And this is, I think, another reason where Hyperliquid is separated from the rest of crypto, because not only do they have a banger project that generates revenue and loads of profits, but also it actually goes to the token holders, and the token holders will benefit from the project making money, which is not the situation for a project like Chainlink. With Chainlink, they make a ton of money, they have an amazing business, and the token holders basically get jack shit. Okay? And I think that's another thing that I don't see people talking about on Twitter, a lot of influencers, whatever, is the fact that not every project that has amazing profits is actually, the profits aren't leading back to benefits for the holders, okay? And that's kind of a huge thing. And that's what really separates Hyperliquid, is the holders really get stuff out of, all this is going on. But I think that's it for today. If you enjoyed today's PerpDex Daily Roundup, make sure to subscribe, leave a like. And also, we have a new Discord. I probably should have shouted out in the beginning of the video. We have a Discord for traders. We can talk about trading, gambling, meme coins, whatever, if you enjoy all that. And make sure to subscribe. And also follow me on X. Link in the description. I'm always posting there about Hyperliquid. Thank you for watching.